why men should give their wives a cheat pass this Christmas, according to an expert. Yeah, it's all coming together, isn't it? Christmas is a family holiday. Women's want a cheat pass on Christmas. Do they maybe consider Chad and Tyrone to be more family than their husband? I'm starting to think that might be the case. What is a cheat pass? Oh, a cheat pass is just you need to be a cuck. You need to let her sleep around with other dudes. That's what this is. The Wednesday Martin, an American writer on why everything we believe about infidelity is wrong. Oh, so you mean it's really just a complete coincidence that all of these open marriages, they seem to fall apart when the woman finds like one of the guys that she's sleeping around with. She's like, wow, this guy's actually better than my husband, huh? When I told my husband I was interviewing a writer who thinks men should give their wives a cheat pass this Christmas, he understandably had some questions. How would the wife find someone suitable for the occasion? Oh, God. How to tell if your husband is a cuck? If you're a woman and you tell your husband, hey, get this, man. This 1304 I'm interviewing wants husbands to give their wives a cheat pass on Christmas. And his response isn't, brother, ew. If his response is instead, oh, well, how would she find a man for the occasion? You're married to a cuck. This right here is a giveaway. This writer's husband is definitely a cuck. And yes, then there's also the elephant in the room. If she's bringing up the idea, she either already has someone in mind or she's already been cheating for months and just wants to be able to do it guilt-free. What's the difference between a husband and a simp? Just the marriage contract. That's it. So we're talking in the aspect, of course, I deemed it safer to treat this as rhetorical. I assured him that, yes, it was all very unfeasible and concluded he'll more than likely gift me jewelry. This was definitely the day this woman lost respect for her husband. But Wednesday Martin, whose latest book, Untrue, explores why nearly everything we believe about women's and lust and infidelity is wrong, is not being flippant. Yeah, we now know long-term relationships are harder on female desire than they are on male desire, she says. Many experts now believe monogamy is a tighter fit for women's than for men. This Christmas, give your wife something she really wants, something truly exciting, a hall pass. Okay, I'm willing to compromise here. Okay. If you're okay with me getting a concubine and you want to do a threesome, I'll let you have sex with another person. That's how they did it back throughout most of human history, right? Yeah, let's go. Let's go back to basics. This, for the uninitiated, is an agreement between partners in a romantic relationship that one or both may sleep with other people. So an open relationship. You'd have one if, say, you were into polyamory, which involves having intimate relationships with more than one partner with the consent of all partners involved. So pretty much just being a 304 and sleeping around. That's right. Yeah, you got to think of her needs. Hey, I've always said, if I was a woman and all I wanted was an easy ride through life and to hedonistically enjoy myself, the perfect husband would be a literal cuck. So then you could have the beta box and then still hang out with Chad and Tyrone for the alpha fucks and then go back home to the mansion that the beta pays for. That would be like a dream life if you just wanted to go the hedonism route. Confused yet, or just wondering how all the logistics would work? Never mind how on earth to broach the topic with your significant other. Martin, who we met at a boutique hotel in South Kensington. Oh, well, of course it's Airstrip 1. Oh, now everything is making sense. Yeah, it's Airstrip 1. During her visit from London to London from the U.S. has plenty of answers. Starting from the premise that we're only now beginning to understand women's sexuality properly. So isn't it funny that the more sexually liberated women are, the more miserable they are? It's almost as if they don't understand it as much as they think they do. Well, what do I know? Not my business. I'm just here to laugh at whatever they do. That's it. Now, she explains that contrary to popular opinion, women tire of their sexual partners faster than men and need just as much sexual adventure and novelty as their male counterparts, if not more. So you're fine with your man cheating then, right? Because like you admit that he also needs other partners. At that point, no guy is going to get married though. Like, look, if you just want to sleep around with anyone, anywhere, anytime, that's fine. Just don't get married though. Don't try to get into a quote unquote exclusive relationship. Like, especially from a man's point of view, why would a man want to financially pay for a woman that's not his? Even if it is a one of those so-called open relationships. What benefit does a man have being in an open relationship? It's literally just like being single and sleeping with whoever you want with extra baggage and balls and chains. Why even get into a relationship at that point? What do they get out of it? Now, I'm not expecting anyone in the chat to answer me this, because if you're a literal cuck, you know you'll be just savaged if you out yourself. But I'm legitimately curious. Like, I would like to hear someone with a cuckold fetish actually say, like, what exactly do you get from this that you don't get just by staying single and sleeping around? If that's all you're going to do anyway, why do you want to financially become responsible for another person while you're continuing to do that? It makes no sense to me. And again, I'm fine if you just want to sleep around with other people, do it. Just don't get into what should be an exclusive relationship. Like I just don't. It makes no sense to me. Oh, to support this theory, she draws on a range of relatively recent scientific and social scientific studies, so fake science, as well as interviews with experts on female infidelity and in a range of fields, and plenty of untrue whammons themselves. It's all everyone else's fault. Yeah, I know. So in one study, men's desire tapered off slowly over 7 years, whereas female desire plunged in the first 1 to 4 years. So during that 7 years, was the guy only having sex once every year or so while the whammons was out cheating already? That would explain a lot. And we might have said before, oh, well, that's because whammons like sex less than men. But now with new data are helping us understand that it's not that whammons like sex less than men, it's that men are better at wanting what they already have, and whammons struggle more with the same old familiar partner over and over. And yet they still want that same old familiar partner to pay all their bills. All right, Martin, whose current year -10 book, Primates of Park Avenue, a memoir, became a New York Lies bestseller, as if that means anything in current year. It's so easy to manipulate that system. Is not alone in her espousal of such ideas. This year has seen, if not an explosion, at least a creeping insinuation into our culture of the idea that monogamy might not be the only approach to long-term relationships. They're not exactly wrong. We could go back to the old days where you had like one alpha male having an entire harem of women. That's a type of relationship that's been historically proven to work for thousands of years. Two of the most talked about big black cock dramas of the autumn, Wanderlust and Killing Eve, had at their heart characters who rejected traditional relationships. So basically, it's wish fulfillment. It's no different for men too. Like if they're stuck in a sexless, miserable, cheaper to keep her marriage, yeah, they fantasize about breaking free from that too. Or at least maybe actually most men, instead of fantasizing about breaking away from that type of relationship, they fantasize about their woman not being a bitch. That is literally like as simple as the male fantasy goes. Like, man, I wish I wasn't married to a bitch. It's not, oh, I wish I wasn't married at all. It's, yeah, this marriage thing wouldn't be too bad if she wasn't a bitch. In the former, a married couple who try out consensual non-monogamy to reignite their dull sex lives, and in the latter, an attractive female assassin whose potent bisexuality and rotating cast of bed partners is almost incidental to the action. And that was just the big black cock. Meanwhile, we've had an MP Labor's Jess Phillips. Oh, okay, Jess Phillips definitely has an axe to grind because she's the one that Sargon wouldn't even struggle snuggle. Recommending that schoolgirls should be taught about orgasms. Not winning any favors there. Although I will concede it depends on age. Like I think once they hit puberty, you definitely need to explain. Actually, I'd say a little bit before they hit puberty, you need to explain to them in a controlled environment what's about to happen and what to expect. If you let them figure it out themselves, it's not going to end well. All right, let's just put it that way. But the problem is, like, these people want to start in like fucking kindergarten. Like, no, sex ed should be like reserved for right before and shortly after puberty, just so they know what's gonna happen and or what is happening and how to deal with it and what to expect, what the quote unquote right way to go about it is. But these guys always want to push things a little bit too fucking far. And by a little bit, I mean, have we ever discussed that maybe infants can consent? And then they wonder why they're a joke. Martin believes that the Pound Me Too movement has also been behind the shifting sands. Female sexuality used to be women's being sexy for men, she says. That was how it was in Hollywood. That's how it was wherever men had power. It was very heteronormative and male focus. Now, thanks to Pound Me Too and activists and urinalists, we're seeing female sexuality as its own thing, not an extension of male desire. So now men don't desire these women anymore and they're miserable. Isn't that fucking hilarious? Me Too. Oh, so Pound Me Too has given women's a louder voice in the arena of sexual politics. Well, what a coincidence that the louder and more shrieky they get, the more men leave. And now they're getting even louder crying about it. This is from 2018. This article is 7 years old now. And we're already kind of predicting that the new TikTok crying, where have all the men gone meta? Hindsight's great. And since female sexual autonomy is, argues Martin, a feminazi issue closely interlinked with the power and autonomy of women in the workforce and politics, the significance of this online movement should not be overlooked. Yeah. You know who's 100% for this, by the way? Pickup artists. Yeah, pretty much any guy that wants to use these women for nothing but sex and doesn't want to be held accountable and have to pay for it later. Oh yeah, sure, girl. You liberate yourself. Have sex with whoever you want. I'll teach you all about it at my house. Hey, but Martin, a married mother of two and stepmother of two, originally from Michigan, whose background is in anthropology, conceived of the idea of the book before Pound Me Too became a hashtag. She struggled with monogamy herself in her 20s, and more recently, she realized there were data indicating she was not alone. Hey, I'm an unfaithful bitch. Oh, it's not a problem with me. Somehow biology suddenly matters now, even though there's no difference between men and women can do anything a man can do. And what even is a woman? Yeah, see, Chronic is the type of guy that who benefits from liberation. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. The type of guys that just wants to sleep around with many women, they're the ones that are going to encourage this. But if you're the type of guy that just wants to start a family and settle down, if you have a woman that's even remotely showing interest in stuff like this, run for the hills. Because chances are she's already been doing it behind your back and she's just thinking of a way to bring it up to you. And what's so exciting is there's a relatively new science and social science that flies in the face of the holy triumvirate of beliefs about male versus female sexuality. The first being that the male libido is stronger than the female. Now that's anyone who's ever been with a woman knows that's a myth. That's something that always has confused me. Like I've pretty much always known that women are just as horny as men for the most part. All right, the second being that women are more naturally monogamous. Yeah. Oh, dude, who actually ever believed that? Oh, dang, man. So the two big myths you're bringing up have been known myths for ages now. Okay, tell me something new. And third being that women are the enforcers of monogamy and are more cozy and domestic than men. Oh my God. So all three of the big myths are just lies she fell for when she was younger, I bet. Oh, hell no. Now, women's want their men to be monogamous, but they don't want to be monogamous themselves. I guess that third one could be considered half true. All this exciting research has come out over the last years, taking apart every one of those supposed truths, but a lot of it has really crossed over. And I saw it as an opportunity to make science and social science kind of relevant and fun. No, you saw it as an opportunity to try to use science as an argument for why you should be allowed to cheat. That's why you're doing this, okay? Man, yeah, maybe financial monogamy. Yeah. See, I bet if her guy was giving OnlyFans thoughts $1,000 a night, she'd probably be pretty pissed at that. And yet, when she's giving her sexuality to other dudes, he's just supposed to accept it. You know, it's really funny. To this end, our chapter "Bonobos in Paradise" begins with a now it's all coming back to TFM. Isn't that funny? Begins with a look at the work of the primatologists regarding the sexual behavior of female simians. We learned that our primate sisters are sexual adventuresses driven by the thrill of the unknown and unfamiliar, and not a few of them like to get busy with other females. Okay. And like TFM also said, something like a bonobo society could only come about when there's like no real problems around. Food and water and shelter is plentiful. There's no scarcity. There's no enemies to threaten you. Now, what would happen if you introduced a tribe of chimpanzees into bonobo territory? We know the answer. Now, a few pages later, Martin had segued into reportage from the front line of female sexual exploration, Whammon's only sex parties, known as a skirt club. Oh, a carpet muncher party. I know of those. And attended by Whammons who identify as largely heterosexual, many of whom are married to men. So, lesbians that married men to keep up appearances? Yeah, that's all they are. And look, I feel for you. If you're gay, and you feel like you were forced into pretending to be straight up to and including getting married and having a family, that's gotta suck, and you should probably have some outlet. But don't try to pretend like you're straight. We know the truth. Come on, just be honest. What she witnessed there didn't only show female sexual fluidity in action in humans, it also busted another myth. She says that women cheat for emotional connection. Some of them do. Just like with men, some men cheat for emotional connection too, but more often than not, it's just to relieve sexual urges. Really, these whammons are going there to have one-off, more or less anonymous encounters with whammons. There could be no more vivid illustration than the data about female sexuality than the skirt club. So, attending such an event won't be everyone's cup of tea, but Martin believes it's a universal lesson to be learned. How about you just propose the idea of letting your husband have a harem? I'm sure most guys would be at least willing to entertain the idea, even if they ultimately decide against it. That would be a good way you could both win, right? I think people have to get creative with if they want to stay with each other in the long term and admit monogamy is hard, she says. I think when we admit that, it will provide such a wonderful relief to a lot of people. No, I disagree with this. Look, if we want to bring monogamy back, we need to go back to the old ways of doing things when people were monogamous out of necessity. Like, I keep ranting about this. The whole concept of marrying for love is new. For the thousands of years of human history before that romantic concept seems to take off, marriage was just a political or a survival mechanism. Your parents picked someone for you, and then you learned to live with that person. You didn't always learn to love them, but you learned to live with them. And if you ever abandoned them for some bullshit reason, you became a pariah. Society wanted nothing to do with you. So, yeah, I mean, you may hate to hear it, but through most of human history, a lot of marriages, like these people didn't even like each other. They just learned to tolerate each other. And they did the bare minimum to put on appearances, and that's it. The problem is nowadays you don't have that social pressure anymore. So the second she's not happy anymore, everything falls apart. And even then, I'm fine. I'm actually not saying people should be forced to stay with people they don't like. If you want to leave, leave, but you're not stealing my shit. See, that would be like if I quit my job tomorrow, but my boss was still required to pay me for 20 years. No, you're welcome to leave, but you're not taking my house, my car, my stuff, my kids. You could leave whenever you want. That's a change that needs to happen. Admitting it is one thing, deciding what to do about it is quite another. So return to her idea of a hall pass. Is she really serious, and how would it even work? Okay, she laughs. So here's the deal. Consensual non-monogamy. I don't think people in the mainstream know enough about it, but the suggestion stems from a YouGov study that shows 1 in 5 British adults said they had had an affair. Okay, so because 20% of people do this thing that's wrong, maybe we should just declare that it's okay. I mean, I guess that would lower the crime statistics, huh? Ah, shit, crime's off the hook. Well, let's just make these things not a crime anymore. Hey, man, look, we fixed crime, guys. That's an awful lot of people struggling with monogamy and believing their only option is to remain monogamous and unfulfilled or have an affair and pray it doesn't blow up your marriage. What if, she posits, we looked at struggling with exclusivity after a number of years as simply as the baseline and give people a whole range of solutions? Like I said, man, let's just go back to harems. She acknowledges consensual non-monogamy would be the way forward, would not be the way forward for everyone. Some people that would drive them absolutely insane. It would be a terrible idea. But for those people, she suggests alternatives such as trying to inject the spark back into your sex life if you already have. The real gift would be give his spouse permission to have the conversation. Well, like the author of this article found out her husband was a cuck just by having the conversation. Like you literally know after one line. Yeah, and again, like going back to the beginning, the author of this article isn't the one who asked her husband, like, hey, have you considered an open relationship? No, it was, hey, I'm for my work, I'm talking with this woman who thinks that cheating should be okay. And his first response was, how would she find someone to do this with? That's someone who's already thinking about this. I'm sorry. You married a cuck. Yeah. And like 99% of guys, like their immediate reactions would be, what the fuck? Hell no. And for those that wouldn't be their reaction, it's probably because they were so exhausted from work, they probably didn't hear the question. Hey, well, what was that? Did I hear that right? That can't be. Some people are just hopeless, I guess. All right, so why is it better to get a divorce and move on when you simply decide I don't fancy him anymore or the spark is gone? What a trail of destruction you might save yourself from creating if you said instead, there's something we can do here. That's basically like blackmail for the guy. Hey, you can either accept that I'm going to cheat on you or I'm going to destroy you in the family courts. Take your pick. That's what this is. Marriages, by this reasoning, could be saved and something even bigger could occur, a societal shift in power, but relations between the sexes. Well, or we could go back to what it was before, where you understand that the purpose of marriage isn't love and you treat it what it is. Like it's a business arrangement to have kids. Yeah, that's another thing too. Like I never understood the purpose of getting married if you're not going to have kids anyway. Like at that point, just why? May as well just be roommates. Why do you have to get married? Although, never mind. I think maybe for some benefits like visitation rights in the hospital and whatnot. Okay, there's a few things that, things the government makes harder that shouldn't be. But yeah, if you just get the government out of the way, there'd pretty much be no need to get married if you don't want to have kids anyway. So if we have a pleasure revolution and start to put female sexual pleasure at the center of our sexual universe, there's a case to be made that it could change relationships outside the bedroom as well. I hope so. We'll have to see. Okay. So she wants to go full hedonism. That's what this is. She wants to go full hedonism. And once again, I'm actually fine with that. If you want to live a hedonistic lifestyle, go ahead. Why get married, though? Why even get married if all you want is to live a hedonistic lifestyle fucking everyone in sight? Like, that's the one thing I don't think I'll ever understand. Like, I could understand wanting to live that lifestyle. I just don't get where marriage comes into play there. Like, why get married if that's how you want to live your life? Ah, that's true. Yeah, I'm thinking about it from a man's perspective. That's my mistake. Yeah, looking at it from the woman's perspective, yeah, she wants an ATM. She wants a beta to pay for her hedonistic lifestyle. Yeah, because not all these Chads and Tyrones are going to have the money to support her or her finances. That's right. So she needs to marry some rich guy that'll pay while she's screwing Chad and Tyrone. Ah, okay. And then she doesn't want to get in trouble when he busts her with Chad and Tyrone. That's why you got to find a cuck to begin with, like the author of this article's husband. That makes sense. The marriage would be the safety net. Yep. Just like being a guy in the friend zone, right? Your insurance, basically. Like, well, if it doesn't work out with Chad and Tyrone, I got Poindexter here in the friend zone to take care of me. And that's where we circle back to the TikTok meta. All these women, when they're circling back to their friend zone, they find out that their friend zone is empty. All those guys either left and found another woman, or they just MGTOW now. It's so good.